ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Richard Nixon.
Well, I'm not a crook.
Ronald Reagan.
Tear down this wall.
George W. Bush.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
And Donald Trump.
And a friend of mine for a long time, he only likes politics. If you ask him about how are the Yankees doing, he has no interest. If you ask him almost anything, he likes politics, and he's a professional at the highest level. Roger Stone.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone. This is the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC.
Welcome back. I'm Roger Stone, and this is the Roger Stone Show at 77 WABC, the crown jewel of AM Talk Radio. Let me remind you that now would be a great time to go to the application store and download the 77 WABC app to your cell phone so you don't miss any of the great programming and entertainment here at 77 WABC. If you don't live in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, you can also listen live in around the world, really, at WABCradio.com. That's WABCradio.com. In our final half hour today, I'm going to be taking your questions. That number, if you are interested, is 800-848-9222. Once again, 800-848-9222. Whether it is about politics, news, culture, food, my famous Italian recipes, style, no question is off the table. Unless, of course, you use obscenity, in which case we will cut you off immediately. This past week, reading from the New York Post, the home of top fundraiser for Mayor Eric Adams was raided by the feds Thursday as part of an investigation over the alleged kickback scheme involving the Turkish government and a Brooklyn-based construction company. Federal agents burst into the Brooklyn home of Brianna Suggs, a campaign consultant and lobbyist, just as Mayor Adams abruptly bailed out on a slate of White House immigration meetings to fly back to the Big Apple almost as soon as he had landed in Washington, D.C., the New York Post confirmed. The raid was connected to a broader public corruption probe by the feds, looking into whether whether money was illegally funneled to Adams' 2021 mayoral campaign via a Williamsburg-based construction company, and was purposely conducted while the mayor was out of town. Now, let's be very clear. Mayor Eric Adams has not been formally charged with anything. And in America, one is still innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But this appears to me to be a gigantic potential corruption scandal because laundering of foreign campaign contributions is specifically illegal under both federal and state law. And New York City has a somewhat unique campaign matching fund scheme in which a politician running for city office gets a legitimate contribution and registers it. That contribution will be matched at 8-1. See, a campaign for public office is extraordinarily expensive. In other words, the cost of broadcast television, the cost of cable television, the cost of AM and FM radio advertising, the cost of digital advertising is extraordinarily expensive. For a candidate of mayor of New York City, one of the most expensive media markets in the country. Here to talk about this brewing scandal and also his own personal quest to challenge the unjust and unwarranted termination by the New York Police Department of his status as an officer, is a proud son of Staten Island, Salvatore Greco. Sal Greco is a 14-year veteran of the New York City Police Department who had an unblemished record of service to the people of New York City. Sal Greco often pulled the graveyard shift in some of the most dangerous precincts in New York City, and he was terminated by the New York City Police Department, essentially solely because he is a friend of mine. Both Salvatore Greco and I were in Washington, D.C. on January 5th and 6th, but neither one of us was involved in any way in the activities at the Capitol, nor even in the efforts to delay the certification of the Electoral College vote. So in other words, Salvatore Greco did nothing wrong. Joining us now, this proud son of Staten Island, Sal Greco, joins the Roger Stone Show.
Thank you, Roger, and it's an honor to be in the Stone Zone and on WABC Radio.
It's great to have you here on the Roger Stone Show. So before we get into the larger issues here, you were terminated under a specific regulation of the NYPD, which seems to me to be enforced extraordinarily selectively. Tell us what regulation you were terminated under.
Certainly, Roger. So in the NYPD Patrol Guide, and the Patrol Guide, if anyone out there doesn't know, that is the guide that every police officer from the rank of police commissioner on down and every civilian member of the NYPD has to follow. So there's a procedure in that. It states it's number 203-10, page 1, paragraph 2, subsection C, public contact, prohibited conduct, general regulations. You cannot, it states this, you cannot wrongfully and knowingly associate with a person reasonably believed to be engaged in or likely to have engaged in criminal activities. That is a provision in the Patrol Guide, and this provision, there are no exceptions to this rule. The way this is written is the way it reads and must be followed. That's the exact provision that they used to terminate me, Roger.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I have read Mayor Eric Adams' biography. He was a New York City police captain prior to his election to the state senate and then his election to the borough presidency prior to his election as mayor. And he admits in his book that he provided paid private security, which, by the way, is perfectly legal, to both Mike Tyson, who is a convicted criminal, and Reverend Louis Farrakhan, who is also a convicted criminal. Therefore, they would fall under the broad rubric of someone who may have or may in the future have engaged in criminal activity. He was also charged departmentally, as you were. He went through an administrative trial as you did, but in his case, they docked his vacation time for 5 days. In your case, you were terminated. You lost the pension that you had paid into for 14 years. You also lost your standing, meaning since you left NYPD without a good conduct letter, it's impossible for you to find employment working in law enforcement in any other jurisdiction. Do we not have a double standard here?
That's correct, Roger. And it's only a double standard. It's a hypocrisy that still runs amok in the NYPD today, and including Eric Adams himself, that he lets this, fester on. So I want to point out here now, there's a lawsuit that was filed by an officer. He was terminated also on the false pretenses. Jermac Romero, and this is in the New York State Division of Human Rights, EOC. It's a complaint right now in the state court, but it will become a lawsuit. It can be. So he's alleging that the last three administrations, which is the three police commissioners, the last three of them, the current one, Ed Caban, the one that was previous before him, Keyshawn Sewell, who was in my lawsuit, was my police commissioner, terminated me, and the one before her, which was Dermot Shea, they violated this rule, Roger. And I'll tell you how we know that, how he is stating this, and he's alleging his own lawsuit. All right. They associate with someone named Jimmy Rodriguez Jr., a.k.a. Jamie Rodriguez, who he himself is a self-admitted criminal. It's in several publications, including The New Yorker, stated November 9th, 1997. And there's recurring allegations of sale of narcotics, prostitution, other criminal conduct within the former Jimmy's Bronx Cafe and now Consofrito. He is an alleged owner there. It's located on 1315 Commerce Avenue. The establishment is it's called 1315 Restaurant Group, and that SLA under that name is actually under Richard Caban, who is a retired NYPD lieutenant and the brother of Ed Caban. And this place, Consofrito, in a publication of City and State, was listed as one of the top 50 political hangouts in New York, but for Democrats. All right, so there's 3 years at least supported of social media data where literally hundreds of NYPD personnel patronized Consofrito, but there was no discipline there. There's no police officer being disciplined. There's no police commissioner being disciplined. Well, they can't even discipline themselves. Eric Adams would have to actually terminate the police commissioner. And this is where we realize that the NYPD disciplinary system uses arbitrary standards and lacks transparency, at least over the last three administrations we can count. And it's their own hypocritical conduct, including its executive management, because Roger, it's just the upper echelon of the NYPD is constantly pictured with Jimmy and in this place. And it supports the proposition of systematic favoritism, bias, significant inconsistency, how disciplinary cases are initiated, prosecuted, or resolved. And, this Consofrito, if you don't know this, but in the NYPD, they're what's called corruption-prone locations. That's where a police officer would not even step foot in this place because all these allegations are being made or had been happened in the past. And Consofrito, to our knowledge, is not listed on there, and he is alleging that that's because it's Ed Caban's brother is the owner or the SLA owner of the on paper for Consofrito. And there's also allegations that they offer heavily discounted meals to protect and entertainment, to protect the business from federal, state, and local government law enforcement activities. To my knowledge, Roger, and on public records, there's no enforcement going on in this place. No one's visited this place. No one's checking up on them. There's nothing from the New York Sheriff's Office. There's nothing.
PMS, pregnancy, menopause. Being a woman is a lot. Ollie supports you and yours with expert solutions for every age and life stage. They just launched 2 new products exclusively at Walmart. Period Hero combats flow, mood swings, and more during PMS. And Balance Perimeno to support hormonal balance, mood, and metabolism during perimenopause. Grab yours at Ollie.com. Ollie! These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, streaming now only on Netflix.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at StitchFix.com.
To be absolutely clear, the allegations just laid out by former New York City Police Officer Salvatore Greco have all been filed in federal court just last week with documentation of all of it. If you're just tuning in, I'm Roger Stone. This is the Roger Stone Show at 77 WABC Radio. In the next half hour, I'm going to be taking your phone calls. That number, 800-848-9222. I want to hear what's on your mind. So write that number down, 800-848-9222. We continue with former New York City Police Officer Sal Greco. Sal, correct me if I'm wrong, but several months ago, but after you had filed your lawsuit in which you admit that you lost everything, you lost your pension, you lost your life savings to pay lawyers to bring this lawsuit. You also have said in several interviews the NYPD, for some odd reason, had you under surveillance at the time that your father was near death and finally passed away. I recall that Cardi B, the rapper, entertainer, clearly a convicted criminal herself, was actually invited to speak at the New York City Police Academy, where she quite obviously came in contact with the entire upper echelon of the New York City Police Department. This would seem to me to be yet another violation of the same exact regulation under which you were terminated. But when Mayor Eric Adams was asked about this, he said, "We don't discard people," saying that I guess he believes in second chances. Well, what about Salvatore Greco? Why were you discarded?
That's the question here, Roger, because apparently, there's a double standard here. As you could see that, even Keyshawn Sewell, who was in my lawsuit, who is also associated with Jimmy Rodriguez, just the other day when we had a hearing in my case in regards to this entire matter, they said that basically the police commissioner rubber stamps the fact that, that piece of paper that said my conduct, my behavior is detrimental to the police department. My friendship with you is detrimental to the police department if I continue my employment. She just rubber stamped that, Roger, apparently to the city lawyer, which is odd to me because she said she actually reviewed it. I mean, remind you, Keyshawn Sewell just got a job with the New York Mets. I don't know if they know that they have just current litigation here. But to go back to the Cardi B, it's fascinating that she came to the police academy and she was invited there and nobody knows this stuff. But the same people, Roger, the Deputy Commissioner of Community Affairs, Mark Stewart, and at that time, I believe the Chief of Training at that time at the Police Academy was Juanita Holmes. Not only were they all associating with Cardi B there, they also are associating with Jimmy Rodriguez and company at Consofrito, where numerous other criminals and convicted felons seem to hang out at, along with the politicians. It's just mind-boggling to get you just try to get your a grasp on this, and how are all these supervising people in the NYPD allowed to associate with known criminals, and they're the ones that are passing judgment on someone like me or this other officer, Romero, but yet who is holding them accountable? They're judging you, and maybe someone should be judging them.
You raise an excellent point. Let's turn now to the news that broke last week. I again stress that despite all of the news reports, the allegations that Mayor Adams may have accepted laundered funds from Turkish nationals that were laundered through a Brooklyn-based construction company. These are, so far, just allegations widely reported in the New York press. And one is presumed, even Mayor Adams is presumed innocent until actually convicted in a court of law. However, we now learn that prior to the FBI raid, the NYPD sent a unit to Ms. Scruggs' home. I believe it was 3 hours before the FBI raid. And I don't know, perhaps I'm just a wise guy, but I have to wonder, was this to warn her that the FBI raid was coming down and urge her to remain silent about any potential misdeeds by Mayor Eric Adams? The New York City officially says, the New York Police Department says, that this is a routine matter. That doesn't seem routine to me at all. What are these wellness checks, which is what they're calling it? What are they generally used for, Sal?
Well, Roger, in the past, how this would be used is, let's say, in the Organized Crime Bureau at the time when there was an Organized Crime Bureau, if a witness or a defendant in a case, they got on a wiretap that somebody was supposed to, order a hit on somebody, they were going to, quote unquote, whack them, they would have to inform their lawyer by law, or the United States District Attorney, if was involved, would have to go and inform them as a wellness check. Hey, listen, your client is being, there's a hit out on them. They're looking to, murder your client. So in this instance, though, in a wellness check with this, Internal Affairs would not just do a wellness check on anyone unless it's a cop or a witness that they have in a case against the cop. Because this woman, by all standards, by all we're reading about her, she just is a fundraiser. She has nothing to do with the police department. So for the Internal Affairs Bureau to call the 77th Precinct and have two officers go by there, this is highly unlikely. This is highly inappropriate, I'd say. You wouldn't do this under any normal search. I don't even think this is an Internal Affairs way of doing things. They're not structured. There's nothing on the books as far as a rule for this. Speaking to people that have been in the Internal Affairs Bureau, they were lifers, we'll call them in there. They've never heard of anything like this. So this is highly unlikely. The fact that the cops went there at 7:30 at night, and then they also stayed in the woman's apartment, and that's all bizarre. And the city saying that this is routine. No, it's not, Eric. Actually, Internal Affairs only does wellness checks for an officer if they believe they're suicidal, or a witness to a case that involves the witness having something to do with the cop that they're investigating. That's the only circumstances you would see. This is highly unusual, Roger.
In golf, precision is everything. on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
Clorox Sentiva smells like grapefruit. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like
Okay, we could be here all day. Try Clorox Sentiva for a trusted clean with long-lasting freshness. Also available in lavender and coconut. Use as directed.
Look, I have to admit that I, even though he was a Democrat, I used to have a very high regard for Eric Adams when he was in the state Senate, and my good friend, Senate Republican Majority Leader Joe Bruno, was unjustly and falsely accused of corruption, for which he was ultimately acquitted. After his first trial, conviction was overturned on constitutional grounds. The federal government took the rare step of retrying him, a trial in which he was acquitted of all charges. And I attended the trial in Albany, New York, taking the train there. And I admired the fact that Eric Adams, who was a Democrat in a different party, but who had a good working relationship with Majority Leader Bruno, attended the trial every day out of respect for a fellow member of the Senate. More recently, however, I don't really what's happened to Eric Adams. He's like the best-dressed mayor since Jimmy Walker, the most corrupt mayor since William O'Dwyer, and now I have to wonder whether he is the most incompetent mayor since, well, Bill de Blasio. Reading online that he believes God has somehow ordained him to be mayor, I don't know, I find that a little offensive. And now I really wonder whether there is politics involved, as some have said. Reported only hours ago, the FBI is now investigating this tip-off by NYPD of Brianna Suggs, the fundraiser for Mayor Eric Adams, whose home was raided by the FBI. But also, Mayor Adams can't seem to keep his story straight when he comes to the immigration policies of the Biden administration. Initially, he said that New York would be a sanctuary city where illegals would be welcomed. Then he has had a hard time housing them in places where there wasn't community protests about the danger and the unsanitary and dangerous nature of these holding facilities. The Roosevelt Hotel, once one of the most prestigious landmark properties in Manhattan, once the headquarters of New York Mayor John V. Lindsay, Governor Nelson Rockefeller, Governor Thomas E. Dewey, two-time presidential candidate in 1944 and 1948, is now a crime scene, is now being used as a migrant shelter. Mayor Adams blurted it out when he said that these immigration policies would destroy New York. Then he seemed to back off of that. Some have speculated that this FBI raid on Eric Adams could be payback from the Biden administration for the mayor's criticism of the administration's immigration policies. I tend not to believe that, but what do you think, Sal?
Well, it comes to Eric Adams, Roger. Everything about him, from the days of him being a police officer all the way till now being the mayor, it's full of controversy. He's very controversial. As a police officer, he was involved in these organizations with the Guardians and the 100 Law Enforcement Blacks, and there was all kinds of rumors with that and how he raised money with them. That continued with as a state senator. He was involved in the resorts casino scandal. There's testimony out there. You could go read it. You should read it because it's quite interesting to hear him testify. And, through that, also one of his goons, his friend Timothy Pearson, ended up becoming the vice president of the resorts casino. And here's a guy that just recently, he's being investigated now by the Department of Investigations because he allegedly choked out a female and assaulted another security officer who somehow they were arrested and not him. That's another story for another day, but that's another Eric Adams controversy. Same thing as the borough president. There was all kinds of stories because that's where he started this going to Turkey. He was always visiting Turkey as the Brooklyn borough president. And today as the mayor, where there's all kinds of rumors and all allegations that he hangs out, just like Curtis Sliwa always says, he's at Zero Bond one night in the nightclub, and you could go there and you could kind of wine, dine, and pocket line him there. And now also with Con Sofrito, where we're hearing is multiple birthday fundraisers for the same politician, and Eric Adams just happens to be there. And there's all kinds of allegations with that, where money flow